The desert has a way of burying the past. But sometimes, the sands reveal something impossible. In the heart of the world's most unforgiving deserts, where temperatures soar and life withers, stand structures that shouldn't exist. Massive walls, complex engineering, and mysteries that have survived for centuries, built where water was scarce, where life itself was difficult, and where logic says they should never have endured. Who built them? And more importantly, why here? Today, we're uncovering 5 ancient desert fortresses that defied time itself. And trust me, the fortress at number 1 may completely change what you think ancient civilizations were capable of. Let's begin. Number 5. Derawar Fort. Imagine standing in the middle of Pakistan's vast Thar Desert. Nothing around you except endless sand stretching towards the horizon. Then suddenly, a gigantic fortress rises from the earth itself. 40 massive bastions, walls towering above the desert floor, visible from miles away. At first glance, Derawar Fort looks almost unreal, a structure far too large for such an isolated place. But perhaps the greatest mystery isn't what it looks like. It's why it exists here at all. Historians believe the original fortress was built over 1,000 years ago. Later, rulers expanded it into the enormous stronghold we see today. But think about that for a moment. This region experiences extreme heat, water is scarce, and transporting materials across the desert would have been an enormous challenge. Yet somehow, builders created one of the largest fortresses in South Asia. Even more fascinating. Derawar Fort wasn't just a military structure. Ancient trade routes once passed nearby. Caravans carrying spices, silk, and precious goods crossed these harsh lands. And the fortress may have served as a vital guardian of those routes. But despite its importance, many questions remain. How were such enormous walls constructed in such an unforgiving environment? How were thousands of workers supplied with food and water? And how did this isolated stronghold survive for centuries while countless others disappeared? Today, Derawar Fort still stands, silent, watching over the desert as it has for generations. A reminder that ancient builders often accomplish things far beyond what we imagine. But as impressive as Derawar Fort is, our next fortress raises an even stranger mystery. Because this time, we're not talking about a massive wall. We're talking about a monument carved from a single rock, and nobody knows why it was never finished. Our next journey takes us to Saudi Arabia. Qasr Al-Farid. Imagine traveling across the harsh deserts of Alula, surrounded by empty sands and rugged cliffs. And then, you encounter something extraordinary. A giant monument carved directly into a single rock, standing completely alone. No surrounding city, no nearby fortress, no massive settlement. Just one incredible structure rising from the desert, known as Qasr Al-Farid, the lonely castle. At first glance, it appears majestic, almost perfect. But look closer, and something feels strange. The lower portion is beautifully carved, yet the upper section remains unfinished, as though the builders simply stopped and never returned. Why? Nobody knows for certain. Some historians believe construction was interrupted by political changes. Others suggest economic problems forced the project to be abandoned. But after nearly 2,000 years, the real answer remains lost. Even more mysterious, Qasr Al-Farid wasn't built by Romans or Egyptians. It was created by the Nabateans, the same civilization responsible for Petra, masters of engineering who transformed deserts into thriving kingdoms. Yet somehow, this lonely monument was left incomplete. frozen in time, waiting for answers that may never come. But while an unfinished monument is fascinating, our next fortress tells a story of survival itself. Because this time, the challenge wasn't isolation, it was height. Our next journey takes us to Israel, Masada. Imagine standing atop a mountain fortress nearly 1,300 feet above the desert below. Steep cliffs surround you on every side. The landscape is harsh, the heat is relentless, and reaching the summit is difficult even today. Yet more than 2,000 years ago, people lived here. King Herod transformed Masada into one of the most impressive fortresses of the ancient world. Palaces, storage rooms, defensive walls, everything needed to survive. But perhaps the greatest mystery wasn't the buildings themselves. It was water. Because this mountain sits in one of the driest regions on Earth. And yet, ancient engineers designed a remarkable system of channels and reservoirs capable of collecting precious rainwater, allowing thousands of people to survive in the desert, even during times of siege. And speaking of sieges, Masada became the site of one of history's most dramatic final stands. When Roman forces surrounded the mountain, they spent months building an enormous ramp, a feat of engineering that still astonishes historians today, eventually reaching the summit. But what they found shocked them. According to ancient accounts, the defenders chose death over surrender, creating one of history's most haunting stories. Today, Masada remains one of the most famous fortresses ever built, a symbol of determination, survival, and sacrifice. But if surviving on top of a mountain seems extraordinary, our next fortress presents an even greater mystery. Because unlike Masada, this structure wasn't built on a mountain, or beside an important city. It was built in the middle of nowhere. Our next journey takes us to Iraq. Al-Ukhaidir Fortress. Imagine crossing the endless deserts of Iraq. Miles of barren land. No major cities nearby. No rivers. No obvious reason for anyone to build something extraordinary here. And yet, rising from the emptiness stands one of the most impressive fortresses of the Islamic world. Al-Ukhaidir Fortress, built more than 1,200 years ago. Its massive walls, elegant arches, and advanced design have amazed historians for generations. At first glance, it looks like a military fortress, but many experts believe it may have served other purposes as well. Perhaps a palace, perhaps a caravan station, or perhaps something else entirely. But one mystery continues to puzzle researchers. Why build such an enormous structure in such an isolated place? Ancient trade routes passed nearby. But even then, the scale of the fortress seems extraordinary. Inside its walls are courtyards, halls, defensive systems, and architectural features far ahead of their time. Features that would later influence Islamic architecture for centuries. Yet despite all this, many questions remain unanswered. Who exactly ordered its construction? Why was this location chosen? And what secrets have disappeared with time? Today, Al-Ukhaidir Fortress stands alone beneath the desert sun, silent, mysterious, and almost forgotten. But as remarkable as Al-Ukhaidir is, our final fortress may be the most astonishing of them all. Because this time, we're not talking about stone. We're talking about mud. And what ancient builders achieved with it seems almost impossible. Our final journey takes us to Iran, the Bam Citadel. Imagine discovering an entire city built from mud. Not a village, not a palace, an entire city, protected by massive walls, watchtowers, markets, homes, and complex streets stretching across the desert. This is the Bam Citadel, also known as Bam, the largest mud brick fortress on Earth. For centuries, it stood as a thriving center along the Silk Road. Merchants, travelers, and traders passed through its gates, carrying goods from distant lands. But perhaps the greatest mystery isn't how it prospered. It's how it survived. Built almost entirely from mud bricks, a material many people would consider fragile. Yet somehow, this incredible fortress endured for centuries, through wars, through harsh desert climates, and through the rise and fall of empires. Ancient engineers developed ingenious techniques that allowed these structures to withstand time itself. And even after devastating earthquakes damaged much of the citadel, efforts to restore it continue today, preserving one of humanity's most extraordinary achievements. Think about that for a moment. Entire civilizations vanished. Kingdoms disappeared. Empires crumbled. Yet these desert fortresses endured, standing against heat, time, and history itself. History is not always as simple as it seems. Sometimes, the people who came before us understood far more than we give them credit for. And sometimes, their greatest achievements survive only as ruins, waiting to be rediscovered. Because even after centuries of exploration, there are still discoveries capable of surprising us, still mysteries capable of humbling us. If you enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of the ancient world, subscribe for more stories that challenge what we think we know. And until next time, keep exploring.